What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We've got something super fun for you guys, and let me bring him on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the wonderful Mr. Grim Green.
Oh shit! Hi, Dean.
How we doing, buddy? All right?
Good, yeah, good, not bad.
Excellent. It's been a while since we've spoken. I think it must be probably a couple of years now. I don't think we've done anything for a while, have we?
Yeah, it's been a good amount of time. I just see you, on the social media. Like I said, it's been years since I've seen you in person.
Yeah.
Vape Jam. Good Lord, how many years ago was that?
So long. Well,
long,
at least 2, isn't it?
So long.
A bunch of people here in chat already. So what I'm going to do is, as normal, I'm going to say hello to those of you that are in the chat.
Yes.
And so let us know what you're vaping on, where you're from. It's always good to know this kind of stuff. And we'll just do this for a couple of minutes, and then we will get on with what we've got for you. Because I think tonight is going to be offering something that you've possibly not heard about before, or not even gone into in any kind of real depth. But it's certainly something that we both get asked quite a lot. So let's hear a little bit from you guys, and we'll see what's what. So we've got young Blazing Vapes coming through there. Nice to see you, buddy. Jim Old, how you doing? Mowgli is in the chat. Nice to see you.
Mowgli.
We've got Steve Thompson. What's up, Grim and Biker? Lynn. Hello, Lynn. How you doing? Thanks again for coming and joining again. We've got the wonderful Zap Raps in the chat as well. Lovely to see you, buddy. We've got Joe, Sick Boy, Yo Yoy, and Oi. 2 of my favourite peoples, Vaping Biker and Grim Green. Cheers, buddy. We've got Battery Mooch in the house as well. Nice to see you, pal. We've got Vaping Jedi. Now with that name, that's got to be someone that's a patron of yours, surely.
I feel like Vaping Jedi. Where's he at? Yeah, I see you, Vaping Jedi.
What else have we got? Mooch is just saying hello, Dean and Nick. We've got Mowgli is on the DIY eggnog in the Zeus X RTA.
Oh, eggnog liquid. I
Very
wonder how that tastes.
That's super seasonal, isn't it? We've got, who else we go now? We've got Phoenix Vapes, evening, Dean and Grim. Nice to see you. We've got Charles Seal, greetings from Atlanta, GA, vaping on the Basium. I'm going to nick Nick's thing there, look. Let's have one of them from you.
Yeah, big blurry fist.
With an ocular on top. Don't know if I put you up there on the screen, but I will for a second. We've got Joe Mack saying good evening to Dean and Mr. Green. We've got Cameron Edgar, sup guys, from Portland, Oregon. We've got Zamraps is on the Hellfire Phantom and Ubertoot. Ooh,
oh.
look at you. We've got Clark is on the Argus GT with the Gear RTA, living in Newcastle. Motters, not saying hello to me then, but I'm going to pick you up anyway. Nice to see you, pal. Nick David is someone that I make watch my videos before I put them out, because I haven't got the attention span to keep watching my videos through the editing.
Yeah.
So he is my filter assistant to tell me whether I've been a knobhead or not.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good to have. Good to have.
We've got Glenn Smith is on the UK Fine Mods Dual 21700 Squonker. We've got Sith Walker.
Yeah, Sith Walker.
All of these Star Wars things, I tell you. Or is it Star Trek? I don't know.
Oh, it's Star Wars.
That's okay. I very much enjoy winding people up by putting, I really like that big furry thing in Star Trek. I think he's really cool. We've got Dustin sitting in hospital. Sorry to hear that, Dustin. I hope you are powering through with whatever it is. We've got Ian Thomas from the infamous Bath. I don't know if that was Ian that was on your in the chat of your show last night, was it?
Bath.
But you had someone on from Bath, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
We've got vaping a little retro Minikin V2 with Steve Thompson on an OG Falcon from good old Tyler, Texas. Nice little setup going on right there. Legion Vapes, we've got thoroughly enjoying my Type 2 on the new Org Vape thing with a little rocket blast. Look at you see, look. we've got a Basium owner, and we've got a Type 2 owner. So I think we're doing well so far. We've got a bunch of people in chat, but I'm not going to have a chance to say hello to everybody. So hopefully you will understand that we're not going to be going with everyone. I'm just going to say hello to Russ because he's a little sweetie. .ao because I need something simple when watching your awesome self. I don't know if that's suggesting that I'm simple though, Russ. That's my slight concern. But right, let's get into it. So, I'm sure you've seen Nick on a bunch of live streams that have sort of been asking him what his favourite vape is and what his favourite juice is and all this sort of stuff.
Desert Island vape setups.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's a conveyor belt of things now. However, one of the questions that I've been asked quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure that Nick is going to have been asked this as well, is something like, "I've got an idea. How do you bring a product to market? What do you do?" And so I thought it would be really cool to dive down a little bit into this, find out a little bit about Nick's experiences with stuff. Obviously, I had the Basium. I've only had the one product, but nonetheless, it was a strong learning experience. And we can sort of cover some stuff that hopefully you may not have heard before, and hopefully give you some info for moving forward. What I will do, though, is to ask you to leave sort of the majority of questions to once we've covered the main bit of the chat. Otherwise, we will totally go off track and start talking about bubblegum. so yeah, we'll open up the floor for everybody. Thank you for the thumbs up, by the way. We'll open up the floor for everybody in a little while. But thank you so much for joining us on this cold Wednesday night in the UK and what looks like a reasonably pleasant Wednesday in LA.
Yeah, it's been windy, it's been cold, it's been Southern California cold. You know, I came from a really cold climate where it would snow, you know, shoveling snow in the wintertime and just 0-degree temperatures. And now that I'm down here in LA, my body's acclimated. So when it gets to like 60 degrees, I have to put on a hoodie and like turn on my little space heater and put on a beanie. So it's only 60 degrees. It just feels freezing to me. But otherwise, beautiful sunny day.
I've got a review coming out tomorrow, and one of the things I sort of talk about is having to use thinner juice because where I'm living, it's around 17 degrees Celsius during the day, which is a bit cold, and thicker juice just goes, you know, rock hard.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a nightmare for stuff.
All the time. When I used to work graveyard, I'd have to go outside at 4 a.m. in the winter to vape. And I'm trying to drip from this bottle, and it's like maple syrup that's frozen. You know, just can't even drip it. Can't even drip it. It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. So, you know, I do feel terrible for you that you have to wear a hoodie, but, you know.
That's okay. It's hoodie weather. It's flannel weather, you know?
So, looking back, you've been in the game for a hell of a long time now. Did I see you had like a 10-year anniversary recently for Vape Reviews, or is that?
Yeah, sure. That was this year. No, This year was 11 years.
Oh, that's so.
Because it was 2009. Yeah, this year, 2020 in January was 11 years.
That's amazing. That's a fantastic feat in itself. But also, obviously, you must have helped a hell of a lot of people along the way, which has got to feel good.
I hope so. That's the whole. That's the whole goal. That's the whole mission. That's what keeps you fueled is when someone emails you and says, "Hey, what RTA or what this should I get?" And then they buy it, or they buy something on your recommendation and they love it, or, you know, especially smokers when they say, "I bought a Caliburn, or I bought a Weenax, or I bought this, got me off of cigarettes."
Yeah,
that's fuel. That's YouTube. That's Grim Green fuel right there.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Just got to say hello to Viv. She's one of my wonderful patrons, and she says, "At Vaping Biker, you have to say hi to me and yo-yoy to Nick." So there you go. She's
yo-yoy, yo-yoy, Viv, yo-yoy.
So yeah, I mean, in that time, I know that there has been obviously you've released a few products. Now you've got the Recoil, the Rebel, the Goat, and now the Type 2. Is there anything that I'm forgetting in those?
There was the one thing that I don't really like to talk about, which is the Grim kit that I did with Hell Vape.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I don't. It's a bit of a sore subject. We should definitely talk about it. but it is a bit of a sore subject for
Yeah,
me.
we'll come to that in a bit then. And
Yeah.
I know that you've kind of, I don't know whether you've been able to give your brand to some companies, but for things like the Me Pod, and I think there was
Sure.
another company that did a Grim
Yeah.
mod of some kind.
Signature Tips did a little SQ squonker. We did a run of SQ squonkers with the Grim Green, a limited edition green version that was pretty fun.
Yeah, but they weren't things that you designed. They were things that were
Yeah.
already a thing, weren't they?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there a reason why you've kind of not gone down the mod path, or is it just because tanks and atomizers are kind of what does for you?
Yeah, it's kind of I feel like tanks and atomizers are the most fun to design because that's what I like to use. Mods are fun and cool, but I don't know. I've never had any interest in doing like a battery mod or like a lipo mod or something. Like, how many different ways can you fit two batteries into a casing? Sure, maybe you could have like a really cool display, like a really cool interface, or I want to, if I release something, I want it to bring something to the table and not just be, dual 18650 regulated mod, or, I want something creative, and I don't have anything creative for a mod just yet. So maybe someday, maybe we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I don't know.
So I'm going to ask about your experiences with those products and kind of what you've learned along the way in a minute. But
yeah,
I think one of the key things that you seem to have really kind of got to grips with and possibly is helpful at the same time as being inspirational as well, is the fact that you do tend to surround yourself with your friends that are also sort of quite creative and quite industrious in their own right, with people like Dwayne Ownboy and Kent with Twisted Messes. Two people in the industry that have been in the game for a long time and a hell of a lot of experience between the three of you. How has that kind of impacted that kind of process for you?
It's been really, really good. That there's like positives to it and then negatives to it. I mean, obviously there's positives to it. Like you said, Dwayne and Kent, they're really creative people. Kent's a genius. That's just period. Kent is a genius, period. I'm honored to be his friend and to have known Kent because he's brilliant. And then, on the one side of it, sometimes it's really real helpful, and we get into this like good creative space and things like that. And then on the other side of it, we're all very opinionated, and Kent will tell you, we're sitting there designing this RTA and CADing things, and I'm bouncing ideas off of him saying, what if we did this? And he'll just be very blunt and go, that's a terrible idea. That's a stupid idea. Why would you do that? And I'm like, really? I think this, like, I want to do this. And he's, no, bro, that's the dumbest idea, And so we're all very opinionated. So occasionally we butt heads, but for the most part, it's really great, And I just like, I don't know, I like creative people. It's how I met Eric, Vinyl and Vapor on Instagram, who's, incredible artist. And we bond over like obscure punk bands and things like this. And I've just always liked being around creative people and, people with lots of ideas, and I just like it. It inspires me. Yeah. And it's good relationships to have,
I think it's good as well when you've got someone, I mean, you're talking about Kent there just saying, nope, that's a shit idea.
Yeah, nope, that's a stupid idea.
Having someone like that often makes you rethink your own opinions as well, to think, have I got this in mind because that's what I like, or am I thinking about this in the right space? So it's good that you've got a friend that can just go, nope, it's shit.
Nope, that's shit. Yeah, I'm glad, I'm glad they don't just blow smoke up my ass and go, oh yeah, this is going to be a great RTA, Nick, real good. You're the best. You're the best design. I'm glad he didn't do that.
Definitely. Just to say thanks to Jan for a super chat there. We've got €5 in from Jan. Guys, love to catch both of you streaming. Have a wonderful day. And as always, keep on vaping and streaming and making videos and being awesome. So thank you very much for that, Jan. Very kind of you.
Thank you, Jan. That's very cool.
So right, when we've talked about the kind of your circle of friends. Now, obviously, you've done stuff together with them, as well as everybody doing stuff on their own, in some degree. And sort of, do you find that you're able to offer something? Even though I guess when you're super close with people give zero shits that you've been doing something for 11 years. But do you find that you're able to offer something from a sort of a vapor's standpoint for what's out there, and also to let people know, if Kent's got an idea for an RDA, you can go, yeah, it's a good idea, but that was also done by so and so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you find that they kind of come to you and go, Nick, has anyone ever done this? And
has anyone ever done this? No, the thing is, a lot that does happen. That happens a lot from time to time. But everybody that in my circle is real knowledgeable and real innovative, innovation minded, and that's just because Dwayne and Kent started off in the vape scene, being builder guys. And so it was Dwayne and Kent and Squidude and, maybe a few other builders in there. And they always had this healthy competition of innovation. It's whoa, look at what Kent did this week with his coils. Look at what Dwayne did this week. So it was always trying to one up each other. And so they're very innovation minded. And Dwayne and Kent both think completely outside of the box in a way that I've never really seen before. There was a time, man, this was years ago, but Dwayne came to me with this RDA design that he was the most pumped on that I've ever seen him. He was so excited, and he had this idea because he used to be an electrician. So he's we can get these electrician things that you just push your leads in and it'll clamp them down, no screws, no nothing. You just push your leads in and it'll hold them secure. And he had thinking way outside the box, thinking of stuff that nobody's ever done in vaping. So it's rare that they ask me has this been done? Because the stuff that they're thinking of has never been done.
Yeah.
That dang deck, the dang RDA had a completely innovative, crazy original deck that I've never seen anybody do before. And that came all from Dwayne's brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
crazy. I mean, both of the guys I've spoken to both of them as well, and they're both super nice as well.
Yeah,
which is
they're great.
Very frustrating because you've got Dwayne, who's basically a man mountain and looks like he could just snap you in half.
Yeah,
and then you've got Mega Brain that is Ken, and they're both really, really nice guys as well.
Yeah, both,
which is crazy.
Terribly nice guys.
But one of the things that I'm sure you get asked, and I mentioned this at the start, is people will ask you how to bring something to market, or they've got an idea. What do they do next? So hopefully we'll sort of cover what people could do with all of that sort of nonsense. So before we get into the real nitty gritty and the challenging stuff, for you, when you design and release a product, what are the positives? What's the good stuff? What makes it all worthwhile?
I honestly just like seeing people enjoy it. It kind of reaffirms this is good. When Dwayne and I were doing the recoil, I created this snake bite airflow that I just loved, and I loved vaping it. And I was really nervous thinking, are people going to like this? I'm rethinking, it's a few days before the launch, and I'm thinking, Dwayne, is anybody going to like this? Are people going to vape this? It doesn't have an AFC. It's just airflow. And are people going to like it? And you have this anticipation. And then when you see people get it and enjoying it, you just go, it reaffirms. You're yes, that is a good vape. I knew people would like it. And then when people like it, it's just, that's everything. When you see someone enjoying your idea, it's indescribable. I mean, it feels great.
Yeah. When you go through that, do you try and do stuff that's kind of not the norm? Because I mean, with the recoil, obviously because of the size of the cap, that was quite a small 19 mil deck, wasn't it?
Yeah,
or
real
something
small.
Like that.
It was 18 and a half and some change.
Yeah,
real small.
And obviously that was when 24 mil atomizers was starting to be a thing, and so it's kind of a pushback on that.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision to do that? And also with things like the goat as well, when you released that was all stock coil rather than kind of RBA based and all that sort of stuff. So, what's your thinking when that sort of thing happens?
I don't know. It's always I don't. You know what? I don't know. I feel like every product we've released has been a little bit of like a risky thing. Like when we first did that recoil, there was no. That's still one of the only RDAs that has a really tiny deck and a real thick cap so that we can get that smooth airflow in there. And it was just, I don't know, it was just like a gamble. We thought no one's ever done this before. We can make it work. And, I don't know. It just happened and it felt risky at the time, especially with like no AFC, this big, weird, thick cap, this weird, small deck, like, oh, it's 24 millimeters. It was 18 millimeters maybe, but you could still fit like 3 millimeter coils in it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was the 2 caps idea, was that from the start, or was that something that you thought, no, we're going to have to do a second cap as well?
That was kind of a thing from the start. And it was mostly because of Dwayne and I kind of going back and forth on how big the airflow holes should be. And we had all of these sample caps, and I really liked what became the Clouds cap. That was my favorite airflow, and Dwayne liked a little bit more restricted at that time. So we're like, okay, let's include 2. We'll include a restricted lung and a big, a big airflow cap, and we'll just include 2 caps, and that'll be it. Instead of doing, because people kept telling us to do an AFC or to be able to adjust the airflow. Kent was a big proponent of being able to adjust the AFC. But I was firmly against it. I said, no, this is the airflow. When we built, when Kent built his RDA, it's for the way that he likes to vape. And when we did the recoil, it was for the way that we like to vape. And that one cap is still my supreme favorite airflow flavor cap of all time.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, this is it. This is the airflow.
Plus, Kent vapes at like 1,000 watts with the airflow wide open.
He does.
That's a lung power of an elephant.
Yeah, he likes those hot, high wattage, lots of airflow, crazy crackly vapes.
Yeah.
Crazy crackly vapes.
Living Heights, thank you very much for the super chat. $5 Canadian dollars, are they? I don't know. From Living Heights, build your own deck clay model 16-1. What? I don't know.
Build your own deck clay model 16-1. What? That's an impossible task. Because I don't know what it is. We're going to need some clarification there, hints. We need some hints.
That does take us to a nice, it goes into sort of the next section really, which is your design process.
Yeah.
And obviously you were saying earlier on that you like kind of being involved with the actual design from the ground up.
Yes.
And so what does that look like? I mean, do you guys sort of sit around a table and sketch things out or email each other ideas or what?
It always starts with drawings. Dwayne will usually, I love Dwayne, and I'm not trying to trash talk on Dwayne right now, but what Dwayne will do is he'll try to describe his design to me, like over the phone. He'll say, okay, picture like a deck, and then picture like if we machined, and he's trying to describe it to me in my head. And I'm like, Dwayne, I don't have that ability. I'm not a sorcerer. I can't like conjure this image in my head. I'm sorry. So it's always resorts to drawing. And then Kent is really good at CAD design. And so what we end up doing is going to Kent's house and just hunkering down in his basement for like 3 solid days and sitting in front of, because I don't know, I mean, you've CAD'd stuff. I know you have. Yeah, it's a long process.
Yeah.
It's just a long grinding process. And, Kent was a trooper, and he'll sit there and he'll do everything you ask. And, if you need to make this a millimeter more narrow, he'll go fucking fine. And he'll go through this whole thing and, typing all these commands and adjustments and renderings. And then it's like, it's a millimeter shorter. I'm like, okay, mission accomplished. That only took us an hour to do that one little thing. And so that's usually what happens is Kent will CAD it, and then we'll submit it to the manufacturer for prototypes. We do it the real old school way where we fund it ourselves. We don't go through a company or anything. Like we don't have Hell Vape manufacturing it
Exactly.
with their name on it too.
That's something that I want to touch on as well for a moment, or in a moment. But when it comes down to that design idea, now this is something that I think a lot of people that I was mentioning earlier on that will approach us and say, how do you get a design? I've got an idea for an RDA, or I've got an idea for a mod.
Yeah.
And I think, but a lot of the time people don't really know what to do with that. They've just got a picture in their head.
Yeah.
And are you definitely an advocate of getting it as a full-on CAD kind of design, so you can look at all the individual aspects and measurements and all that sort of stuff before worrying about going to manufacturers, in as much as to at least settle the design in your head?
Yes, that 100%. I would say that I do get lots of emails of people with ideas for designs and RDAs and RTAs, and it's always it starts the same way, like the same way we do with drawings. It's just drawing stuff out, and people want to know, how do I get this manufactured, or how do I contact Geek Vape, and maybe they'll manufacture my RTA and release it as a Geek Vape product type of thing. But I think after drawings, you have to CAD it, and that's going to require, you have to know someone who can CAD. You can hire someone to CAD it for you, which I don't know how expensive that would be. And, there's a whole process of, when you're making a 3D model of it, it has to be, down to the millimeters of everything you're doing. So it's not a matter of just even taking a drawing. It's like, you have to think about the dimensions in your head of how many, like, I see your positive post there on your drawing, but how many millimeters is that? Exactly. I think having a 3D rendering of it with a CAD, with something you could send to a manufacturer. Yeah, that has to be the first stop. Definitely. It didn't always have to be, but I think nowadays it does have to be.
Yeah. When I did the Basium, I designed it on a sort of a super basic CAD program, and I was able to 3D print it so I could feel what it was like in the hand before I started to show anyone. And then when I kind of made some appointments to see people at a vape show, and I was able to take a 3D print of my mod, to these people and say, if you see a picture of this and have the same attitude as most people online ended up having, you'll see a picture of it and it'll make you think that it's the biggest thing in the world. However, this is, the actual size of it. This is how it's going to work. Yeah. And having that ability to print something and be able to hold it and touch it and feel it was so important to be able to get that idea across, I think. So there's a bunch of people that like Shapeways and stuff that will print things for you if you need to. So I would say that, and let me know if you agree with this, but if you've got a design in mind, if someone out there has a design in mind, get it on a CAD program of some kind, and then find someone to 3D print it. Even if it's an RDA, or if it's an RDA or a tank, you could even print it like twice the size, so you can make sure you get detail in it and all that sort of nonsense. But at least once you get to that point, you can then mess about with it. Because after I 3D printed the Basium, I was then like, well, that actually feels a bit wrong, or that edge is not great, or whatever else. So I could then change it,
fine tune it, really dial it in, in the design.
100%. Yeah. So you've got a finished project, and then you can, if you do find someone to manufacture it, you can then send them those STP files or whatever, and they can get on with it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when it comes to design process. Now obviously, as you said, that you do fund your own stuff. Yeah. And I don't want you to give away all your secrets about how you find manufacturers and all that sort of stuff. But what can you tell me about sort of how you did things when you very first got the recoil together? Was it people that you knew of already, or that one of you guys knew, or
it was we used so by the time that we had done the recoil, Kent had already done the first Twisted Messes RDA, so he already had contacts with manufacturers, and so we utilized him a lot. And I think everybody knows this now, but Kent speaks fluent Chinese. So having that on your side is a very helpful thing, because so much stuff breaks down in communication, especially when you're trying to communicate overseas with little intricacies of how this is going to go and how this is going to fit together and what we're really after, like what we're really looking for. And to have Kent be able to just get on the phone and speak fluent Chinese, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
I've said this multiple times, but one of the best things that I've ever seen from Ken is, I think it's still on his channel right at the start, where he's on the game show in China when he was living there.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
It is. Oh crap. It's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, we utilized Kent, and he had some inroads to some manufacturers. And so that's how we kind of, you know, got our foot in the door. You know, I want to say that everything went smoothly with every release we've ever done, but it's just not true. The original recoil got backdoor cloned like a month after we released it. There was already clones of the recoil everywhere, all over the place. Shops started carrying them. You know, we'd reach out to a shop and say, you know, do you need to re-up on any recoils? Did you see the recoils we sent? And they're like, oh yeah, we already re-upped. And then you go, from who? From us? And like, no, from XYZ distributor in China. They were selling authentic recoils for less money. And I'm going, you guys just bought a bunch of recoil clones. That sucks. Like, that's a bummer. You know, I had never, before that moment, I had never really, you know, cared about like the unintended consequences of cloning until you're the one that gets cloned and you go, oh, that feels bad. I don't like that at all. This is our hard work, and we put the time in and we put the money in, and we're getting this manufactured, and then you guys cloned it and release it and sell it for like $5. That feels bad.
Yeah.
You know, I instantly felt bad about every clone I'd ever bought. You know, like that just doesn't, that feels bad. So, you know, lots of learning experiences, to say the least.
Obviously, with Kent being able to sort of converse with them in their native tongue, it did make things easier. But were you aware of any times when you were like, this is the design, this is what we want, but the manufacturing people were going like, no, we can't do that, we've got to do this, and no, you can do that, get it done. Was there any of that kind of friction happening?
Yes, not for really any products until we got to the Type 2, because I was holding the manufacturer to an obscenely high standard. They would constantly be texting us pictures of runs saying, look at this deck, is this good enough? And, you know, we'd either approve it, you know, on over the phone or not. And there was a couple times where the manufacturer came to us just straight up and said, look, we ran like 200 units, 200 decks. We know they're not good enough. There's a burr on whatever thing, so we're just going to scrap those and start over. Like, we really held them to a crazy, crazy high standard, and we asked them for things like the ridges. They were convinced couldn't be done, and I said, no, they can. I know they can, and I know you can do it. And so we finally got the ridges in there, after enough time. But it's interesting hearing what people think they, can and can't be done until you go, no, that can be done. And then
absolutely
it can,
Yeah.
Look at that.
Shocker. All you had to do was try a little bit and you managed it. Well done.
Try. I knew you could do it.
Now, one of the things obviously people don't understand as if they're just a regular, purchaser of stuff, is they'll see Watofo or Geek Vape or whoever, and they'll produce an atomizer for 30 quid. Now, the general difference between that and, say, what you do or what some other companies do is that Watofo and Geek Vape will have a run of 20,000 of these things and have a fall rate of kind of 2% or something that can be rubbish and it can still go out to people. Whereas you will have a much smaller batches of runs. Is there kind of a number? Has that number changed over the release of different products? So, from releasing maybe 500 or 1,000 or whatever it was to the first one in the first batch to what you're doing now with the Type 2.
Yeah, it's been, and that's it's been all over the place, honestly. And that's one of the big learning lessons that we had was, it's a whole other beast when you're funding it yourself, when you're kind of bootstrapping it yourself rather than relying on Wotofo, to cover the costs of manufacturing, to cover the costs of prototypes, to cover the costs of distribution, to cover all those costs. We take that on ourselves. So it's a real different, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's a real different beast. We did some pretty big runs of the recoil. We did a huge run of goats, which we shouldn't have, but we did a huge run of goats. And then I know Kent and Dwayne did smaller runs of the Dang. And then for the Type 2, we kept it to really small runs, only because we're quality checking every unit that comes in. Recoil RDA, our website is the only place you can get it right now. No, that's not true. Some other places have it. Stan has it. But
I think in the UK we've got I think Andy owns .co.uk. I think he's got them or about to get them or something.
Yeah, he's got them. It's been a long process, like trying to even get him to the UK, because Andy is a dedicated guy. He's a hard worker. He from Ohm's Distro. He's been doing all of the UK like quality checking, like literally opening every unit, checking for things, putting O-rings on the drip tip, sealing it back up, setting it to the side. The next one, do that 300 times in a row.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big part of it. So we can control the quality and we can have the final inspection on all of the units that go out. And that's not something that you get with like a mass manufactured thing.
No, exactly. And I know that was a big thing for Dwayne when he released his Squonker a few years ago, around about the same time as me doing the Basium. And I think I did a live show with him at the time as well, because just beforehand, when he sort of put online that his product was coming out, it was a dual battery, and mine was just about to release as well. So I was like, fuck, what if that time has happened where we've got products that just look the same? It's going to be a nightmare. But luckily they're very different. But I know that he basically took every unit, got it delivered to him first, and then went through every single one to make sure it was all gravy.
Yeah, he had to do that, and that was with Desire Designs, who I don't even know if Desire's around anymore, but it was with Desire, and we had a hell of a time with quality with them, and we'd get bad boards all the time, and people's boards were frying and their batteries were shorting, and it was just a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's just a nightmare, and it was one of those things like, this is a mass produced thing, so we can control the quality of the ones we sell. But there's no accounting for, you get that random email from the guy, in Luxembourg who bought a Rage and now it's broken, and you're like, I can't do anything from here,
And it make you feel the worst if someone buys a product with your name on it? Because you like all the Type 2s are going through you guys at the moment, but when a product gets so big that it can't always do that, then you have to trust that your manufacturer is doing things right, and then you start hearing that boards aren't up to scratch, like you're saying, and it's devastating because because you're the face of it all. They'll be contacting you to say, "Oh, this has happened. What are you going to do about it?" And you have to say, "Well, I'm not going to do. I can't do anything about it.
I can't. I literally can't. You're going to have to and I hated telling people that, I'm sorry, you're going to have to contact Desire and go through their whatever. I'm sure it's great, customer service, returning, and even if they'll return it, there's China companies that just get really, really stickly about that. Where, there was this one guy who had an issue with his Grim kit, and so he's like, Hellvape wants me to take pictures of it malfunctioning before they'll refund it and all this stuff, and I'm, I feel terrible. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that Hellvape's making you do that. I have no control, I have no control over this right now. And I'm sorry. And you have to jump through all these hoops, and it's never a smooth process, trying to get something returned from China, or trying to get, I remember back in the day, people's Wismec reloads would break and Wismec wouldn't, honor the warranty or send them a replacement or anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's just sorry. That's just
Yeah.
That's just the
And
way they
unfortunately,
operate, you know.
as vaping has grown, there is a lot of companies that are producing things that, you know, to be kind of harsh on it, don't really give a shit about vapors. They're doing it
Yeah.
to sell more, and then next week they'll have another product and try and sell more of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, they just don't care whether people get on okay with the product,
Yep.
which is difficult because if we review something, we often get it early, and I'm confident that like me, you go through quite a significant testing process before you review something.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've got a review coming out for a tank, and I was live streaming and rebuilding it every day for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and just had so many builds going into it. It was you got to do that kind of thing to make sure that products live up to a standard. But even then, there's only so far you can go before you have to release your review. Like, none of my reviews are ever relevant anymore. They're always like a month or
always
at least
late.
after everybody else.
I know. I'm the same way. I just got products like yesterday, and as soon as I open this product, I'm like, oh, cool. And then I go on YouTube and it's like, oh, there's Matt's review, there's Mike's review, there's Daniel's review, there's Jay's review. Okay, good. I'm glad everybody reviewed this, and I just got it, and it's going to be at least another 2 to 3 weeks of testing it and using it before I'm going to even shoot the video. You know, always late to the party. Always late to the party, man.
It makes me feel comfortable. I mean, Todd always says that he takes a piss out of me and like, oh, you are still a reviewer then, are you? People will enjoy seeing that in 2022. That'll be good.
Yep.
Okay, so that's when it comes to the manufacturing. When it comes to the distro, now you mentioned that you do the majority of at least the initial distribution through the Recoil website.
Yeah, we sell it all on our own website, and that, you know, like I said, we like to control the quality. We like to, you know, write to the customers, no middleman, no distribution, things like that. We just like to do it that way.
Absolutely. And have you found that that's been challenging? It's been kind of one of those things where, I mean, I'm sure you get asked a bunch when you have a new product. You'll have people saying, "Oh, can I distro that for this country or for this area and all that sort of stuff." Do you find that it's challenging or it reduces business by not kind of opening things up a little bit more but keeping the quality?
I'd rather keep the runs small and the quality high than attempt to push out like 1,000 RTAs, you know, across the world or something like this.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit of a challenge, but, you know, Dwayne, he's such a well-connected guy that all of the success of Recoil, I mean, it comes from Dwayne and his ability to get on the phone like a car salesman and just sell these things. He knows he's good buddies with, like, you know, heads of big distribution places, you know, big distribution houses. And so we know that if we have a product, we could probably get it distroed through Local Vape, through Flawless, through Demand, like, but we still have to keep it tight. And especially when a distro is saying, can we get 1,000? Can we get 2,000? Can we get, you know, and you have to say, no, we only have 300 coming, and then we have to quality check every single one. So you probably won't get it for like 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard when there's a demand, but a low supply, but there has to be a low supply, you know, it has to be high quality. I can't let crap go out the door.
No, exactly. So I've got 2 questions before we open things up to all the comments and for people to ask questions. So if you have got any in mind, if you're watching, then get ready to type out those questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer a bunch of them shortly. But obviously there is there's a bunch of negatives that comes from having your own product, something that you designed. It's not all you know, jolly fun and all this sort of stuff. You're not going to be necessarily buying a new house from selling an RDA. So what do you think? What have you found to be the negatives? We've talked about, you know, a couple of bits, but anything else that has been a nightmare for you?
No, I mean, no, not necessarily. We've had, like I said, just had a lot of learning lessons over the years with the Recoil and the Rebel and the Goat. You know, that was a huge learning lesson. That was a big risk that it didn't pan out very well, and that's fine. And so we take a huge loss on this, but that's okay because we try to do the next project, and maybe that will redeem it. And you make money sometimes, you lose money a lot of times. It's always a big investment too. If Wotofo approached you about doing an RTA and you said yes, then it's more or less no money out of your pocket. You provide a basic design, and Wotofo will take it and run with it and manufacture it and put your name on it and give you residuals, and it's whatever. But when you're ordering, 500 RDAs, and it's, you're writing that check for a few $100,000, you just, all right, here we go. Let's see if this, it's stressful. It's high risk, but it's high reward. And I've always wanted to do it this way. Yeah. I've never wanted to. I was apprehensive about doing the Grim Kit with Hell Vape, which I should have been, because that just turned into a pile of shit. I would much rather do it my own way, have my name on the line, have my money on the line, have my design on the line, because that makes it, real. I feel like that's a much more personal way to do it. And I don't know, I just like it more.
And how do you deal with the stress involved? Not necessarily of bankrolling it, but that when you've got a product just coming to market and you've kind of put all of your soul into that product, and as much as we tell ourselves, we don't care about trolls, we don't care about people who don't like it or don't get it or whatever else. If somebody reviews it or they're talking about it online and they just don't understand what's going on, they don't understand how to use it, it's devastating. It's like someone just punching your kid, isn't it?
It is. It's a little rough.
Horrible. How do you deal with all that sort of stuff?
I mean, it's tough. It's one of those things where I have to remember that, especially with things like the Type 2, it's such a specialized RTA. It's going to appeal to a really small group of people, but the people that it appeals to will really like it, and I know that they'll really like it. And there's going to be some people who get it that, they don't watch the video, like you said, or they wick it wrong and it's leaking and they have like this terrible experience. And I feel bad, but I also think in my head, well, maybe that just wasn't for you. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you buying my RTA and taking the time and spending your money on it. But there's just some people, you can't please, what's the saying? You can't please all the people all the time.
Exactly. Right? I think there are definitely some products that work easier, I think, than some others. And so you can basically, like with a lot of RDAs, you can basically just throw a coil in and get a general idea. Fairly sharpish, but with most, but not all. And tanks especially take a little bit more finessing, I think, to really get to it. So just before we do the questions then, obviously you've got the Type 2 coming out now, is now out. You can get it from recoil.com.
RecoilRDA.com. I think Stan has them on lucidrda.com as well. I think those are the only two places right now. And in the UK, Ohms distro, OHMZ distro, and Vape Map distro in Europe as well. Diego has some.
Cool. And if you're not looking for distro in the UK, I know that ohms.co.uk, which is Andy's retail business, is also selling them. So there's a bunch of stuff. Now, is there anything well, obviously there is, but what with this tank are you particularly proud of? Because you've made a couple of those sort of interesting decisions, I think, like we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, I'm just really mostly with this tank. I'm mostly just excited that it's finally out and that there is that everybody that's purchased it so far has given me some pretty positive feedback. They really like it. That really makes me feel good. This tank started off as like just a fun project. Like, I've been pitching this tank to Dwayne for years, and he finally just caved in and said, all right, well, let's design your RTA, Nick, Mm-hmm. And so we did it, and it was meant to be just like, we'll cab this, we'll get a few prototypes, we'll have this RTA released in no more than 5 to 6 months. It'll be out, and it was just going to be an RTA, and that's it. And then prototypes kept taking longer and longer and longer, and I'm holding them to this really high standard. And so the machining has to be spectacular.
Yeah.
And so we're going after prototype after prototype after prototype. And I keep changing things. I keep dialing things in because I want it to be perfect. I want it to be my perfect vision, when it finally releases. And so all this like type 2 hype started building up, and I'm starting to get worried. Like, hype will kill a good product,
So much.
If it
and especially early hype as well.
Yeah, early hype will kill it. There had been this ongoing hype to the point where like it took a year from inception to finish, and it came a point like right before the release where people were like, "It's not real. I don't believe it. The Type 2 is a myth. It's like Bigfoot. It just doesn't exist." Gotcha. Like, no, it's a thing. I promise. And so I was really worried that people's expectations would be set too high. So I'm just happy that it released and people like it and people's expectations weren't too high. And I made a point in my introduction video, like, it's just an RTA. I wanted to stress this. It's taken a really long time because I want it to be really, really good. But it is, at the end of the day, it's just an RTA. It's not going to do anything for you other than give you a vape. Lower that hype train. Let's slow the hype train down. And here it is. It's finally out. And it was great. I got the production units and everything was perfect, and everything, just all the threads were beautiful and glidey, and the top cap. And I was just so excited. And I knew it was a good product. I knew it was, exquisitely machined. And now that it's out and people are enjoying it, I just feel like, the biggest sigh of relief that I ever have ever. It's the long process, man.
Definitely.
So
that's awesome. It's lovely to get to that finish line. Just got Alex in the chat there who runs. He's one of the guys that run vaporbay.co.uk.
Cool.
They've got only 2 left from their initial order.
Very cool.
So that's so if you go to vaporbay.co.uk, then he's got a couple as well. So
sick.
There you go. Sick. Wallop. Thank you very much to Twisted Hex Yo-Yoy for the $6.99 super chat. Very kind of you. Let's get your name up on the thingy. Thank you very much. Cool. So the one thing that I do want to ask about the Type 2 is, why did you go for the dual coil as opposed to the sort of the en vogue kind of single coil train?
I don't know. I've always been, in my mind, the Type 2 was always a dual coil RTA. I like dual coils. I like warmth from a vape. And so what I wanted to do with the Type 2 was have an RTA that you could put a dual coil in. So you can run like it's like a 0.11, but I only have it set to 53 watts. So what I wanted to do is create an RTA. You could put dual coils in. You could run it at a lower wattage, but you would still get a lot of flavor and warmth. The warmth from that dual coil is an important component of the vape to me. I have vapes like Subtanks or whatever that feel cool. They're not quite that warmth, and I'm never fully satisfied until I have that warmth. And so that's what I wanted from this RTA, was just 2 coils in there giving you warm vapor.
Yeah, a warm saturated vape. There's a lot to be said for it without getting a mouthful of juice and having smooth airflow as well. And once you got all that together, then you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the low wattage thing is like, this is a 0.11, so you could run this on a mech and take real quick drags because it's going to heat up like crazy.
Yeah.
But if you take that same 0.11 and you drop it to like 55, 60 watts, you take this long drag and you just exhale a weather system. It's beautiful, and it's so dense and so warm. I just love it. It's one of my favorite ways to vape.
Excellent, excellent. So for those of you in chat, if you've got any questions, feel free to get them down now. If you start them with at Vaping Bike or at Grim Green, it just makes things a little bit easier for us to see. But we'll try and answer as many questions as if there is. I mean, we've covered a lot tonight. I think we've done pretty well.
We covered a lot. We really did. I see that Legion Vapes in the chat.
Yeah, Legion's in. No, I mean it's fantastic that you've got something else. Have you got anything else on the horizon? Have you got, or is that sort of deeply under wraps?
Well, I wouldn't say it's deep. Yeah, I guess it's pretty deeply under wraps. You know, we're kind of always working on something. The Type 2 took way longer to do, and all of that, like seriously, guys, all of that falls on me. It was my meticulousness of machining and fit and finish that really held this RTA up. You know, fit and finish was really important. The threads going together, really critical for me. So that was all, I was all of the delay on this. But with that said, you know, Dwayne's, he's got 2 prototypes going right now that are drippers. I have one of them that I'm fiddling with to see how we can improve it. But, you know, there's always something. Dwayne and Kent are always, their brains are always turning. Yeah, they're always turning. They're always thinking of ideas, and so we always have something going on the back burner. You know,
in my brain, I've definitely got the pair of them. They each have their little man cave that look for what Dwayne's is all black and scary, and Kent's is all kind of RGB and camera lights, and they just sort of sit there over a desk and just go like,
and you know, and it's great like doing collaborative things. Like the recoil was Dwayne and I, but the Type 2 was the only thing that we've released that was 100% my design from top to bottom. I had a say in all the design, in everything, in the packaging, in the final product. This big, long, dorky drip tip, that was my idea to include this in there. And so that was especially nerve-wracking because if the recoil sucked, like I could have blamed some of it on Dwayne. You know, it was a team effort. It's like if the recoil sucks, we both go down for it. But if the Type 2 sucks, that's all me.
Gotcha.
100% me. So that level of nervousness was high.
Legion Vape said, Grim Green, your last true RDA was the Rebel is the Imperial next. I imagine that's something to do with Star Trek as well.
Yep, Star Trek. That's a Harry Potter joke. Yeah, that's a good idea, Legion Vapes. Can I steal that? The Imperial RDA? I might steal that. I might steal
Wasn't
that
there an
name,
Imperial RTA from?
Was there an Imperial?
Someone posh.
That could have been. That very well could have been.
Am I dreaming that? I might have been dreaming that one. Vaping Monkey, I do not at the moment. I am always having a play about with different designs, but until I get to find something that I'm kind of quite passionate about, I was very passionate about the Basium. So until I find something that really kind of tickles my undercarriage a little bit, then where you go. And also, unlike Grim, I'm not able to fund that myself. So it's also interesting to try and find a company that you're comfortable working with, because I don't know if I've said this before to you, Nick, but I approached Dovpo, and that was mainly because at the time they weren't really working. They only had the one VP RDA out at that point, and they weren't working with anybody else. And
good RDA, by the way, very underrated RDA.
Very good RDA, good RDA. But they were producing great products. They had a belief in vaping, and they cared about it. And so whilst I was, and I'm sure you are as well, always inundated with, big manufacturers saying, "Oh, do you want to work on a project?" which quite often ends up being something that they've designed. They just want to put your name on. But I ignored all of that, and I went and approached Dovpo and said, "Here's an idea. Do you fancy it?"
Yeah.
And that worked out sort of really nicely. But I don't know. I haven't got anyone sort of on the cards that I'm thinking, I really want to work with them because, they're amazing at the moment. Not to say that a lot of companies are rubbish, but, just something.
I feel you.
Something different.
I hear you.
Right. What else have we got going on? We have got, let me see what I can find. Vaping Bachelor prefers a tight fit. apparently.
Tight
So
fit. Hey, that's fine.
That's a thing.
That's
We've got Cruise Matic says, Vaping Biker Grim Green. I would love to. My idea of a small, simple, ergonomic single 21700 squonk, similar to my old Capo squonker, to get people into squonk without a complicated menu. Absolutely.
Yeah. See, that's a thing. Yeah,
we need more 21700 mods so much.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Well, and that was my whole idea behind like squonking. Speaking of squonking, the goat. I had this idea for an RDA that was a squonker that had replaceable coil heads that you didn't have to build, so that you could. And what I was trying to do was get people who were like using pods or sub tanks or like a Vupu Vinci or something like that, like something coil head based, to get them into squonking. Because in order to transition from a sub tank to a squonker, you had to learn how to build.
Yeah,
and that was like the thing holding people back. And so I thought, well, if we have an RDA that has coil heads with anarchist wire in it, I mean, these are great wire, great cotton that you could just unscrew and screw back in and then continue squonking and vaping like it was a dripper without having to build, then you might really have something. We might get a bunch of people into squonking or something, That was my vision anyway. And then, fast forward to 2020 and we're still sitting on like, 2,000 goats units sitting in Dwayne's garage right now.
I must admit, I had bigger images in my head of how the Bastion was going to go until
yeah.
Now then, I'll put it on screen just so we can screenshot it for proof, and he can't see you. But Legion Vape says, "Steal away."
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, we need that for proof. We need that for evidence. I don't want the Imperial RDA coming out and then Legion Vape goes, "Hey, Grim, I named that. I feel like I deserve $1 a unit."
Here we go. Cuz Steve has got what I was thinking of. Vaping Biker, you were thinking of the Imperia RTA by VWM. So there we go. So Imperial's still on the table for you.
Okay, good.
You're good. Steve Thompson is off. Right, have we got any other questions? Right, Vaping Bachelor says, Grim Green, care to elaborate on the future at Mike Vapes and Grim Green's rebellious intake?
Care to elaborate on the future? No, we're not doing Vaping Bachelor. Vaping Bachelor's just starting, rumors. I'm not working with Mike on anything. We're not doing a rebellious intake, although that would be fun. Me and Mike are not working together on anything. And that's that's one of the things that happens too, is when too many hands are in the cookie jar, you end up with an overpriced, underperforming product. It's like there's too many names, Signature Tips and Dovpo, and then 2 influencers, and they all have to get paid. So your product is expensive now.
Yeah. Jim asks a solid question there. Are you going to bring back Namba juice?
Oh, Jim. Yeah, that's a sore spot for me, Jim. Probably not. It doesn't look that way. It's more complicated than I would care to discuss, but I ended up not being able to purchase any of the recipes from my business partner. So it's just kind of dead in the water. He's holding all the recipes and is not manufacturing them, and I'm trying to buy them, and he won't sell them to me. My original plan was to buy my favorite Namber Juice recipes and release them to like the DIY community and just be like, fucking go nuts. Here's all these recipes. They're great. You've been buying Glacier Banana for 5 years now. Here's the recipe for it.
Yeah.
Type of thing, just as like a thank you when we closed the company. It's like, give out the recipes.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
That Glacier Banana and the donut one with the brown label.
Donut Pounder. Yeah, Donut Pounder. Dude, it was so good.
Yeah.
We had some good juices. We had a good run, but Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, shut us down, made us criminals overnight. And so we had to get rid of our inventory within the span of about a week. We had to cease operations in the state due to their flavor ban. It was a bad scene. And then, when things get complicated with business partners and money involved, it's like, oh, that handshake deal, it's not quite a handshake deal anymore, is it? And so it was a few months of phone calls and back and forth and, talking to lawyers and this, that, and the other with my business partner. And then it's whatever. It ended up dying and I couldn't get the recipes and it really super bummed me out.
And that's a solid suggestion as well, or bit of advice, that if you're going to do something and make a product or a juice or whatever else with a pal, you might be the best of friends now and it's all good and gravy, but still make shit legal from the outset. Get a contract in place so you know where you stand. Just if you don't fall apart and everything runs smoothly, then fine. No harm, no foul. Yeah. But on the off chance that it does go tits.
Yep. Well, that's the thing you never think about. And that's, learning lessons, right, from Namber Juice. And when things are, like you said, when things are going great, you don't even think about it. You just, the machine's moving, the train's going. So we're just riding it. You don't worry about how much fuel you have left. You just keep going. And then when it comes down to, oh, we should have had some contracts in place. We should have had something in place, Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, you've got to pretend that you're Hugh Hefner and you're putting a prenup in place.
Yeah.
Yes. Francois says, hi, guys. Can I use the type 2 in mouth to lung? Is it a mouth to lung or is it more of a restricted direct lung?
It's very much a hot restricted lung. There's nothing mouth to lung about it. Not even close.
Gotcha.
Don't even try.
It's not smoke. Says after the type 2, it's got to be an RTA of the third kind.
Oh, an RTA of the third kind. We're making sci-fi references, you big nerd.
Southern Comfort, thank you very much for the $2 super chat there. VB, are you a real biker and what do you ride? I have been for many, many years and building them and all that sort of good stuff. However, I'm a poorly chap now with fibromyalgia and chronic fibromyalgia and ankylosing spondylitis, so my spine is mush now, so I can no longer ride, unfortunately, which is desperately upsetting. But there is, I think there's one of my Honda VT750s on the channel, and 1100, but I haven't got any of the stuff that I've built on the channel anywhere.
Built motorcycles. That's
it was a thing. I mean, my 750 that I've got left that unfortunately is going shortly is something that within a few months of rolling it off the shop floor sort of thing, I ended up chopping the back off and welding new bits on and messing about with and doing all that. But I was midway through a real kind of kick-ass lowrider stretch thing when my illness got too bad for me to carry on, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer. Damn.
And, just as I'd finally got to grips with making petrol tanks as well. It was a
right. Damn.
Scott says, what happened to the Type 1?
Type 1 was lost ages ago. I guess you could call my first prototype the Type 1. If that's the case, then this is like the Type 9.
Grim came for the patter and leaves with a new name for an RDA. There you go. Wallop.
Yep, the Imperial.
So for a beginner, Vogan, nice to see you, buddy. For a beginner, what is the tough thing about squonks? I have Mabasium and liking it, but is squonking not that liked? I think that you get hardcore squonkers and you get people that just aren't interested. They're more tank people.
Yeah. And it's this is one of the great things about vaping though, man, is you can vape. There's so many different ways to vape. If you don't like squonking, you can drip. If you don't like drip, try an RTA. You don't like RTAs, we got sub-ohm tanks. You don't like sub-ohm tanks, we got pods. You don't like pods. There are so many different ways to vape. Yeah. And I'm one of these guys that I loved squonking and then I hated squonking. It just was suddenly like a turn in my head, where I thought, I'm re-wicking this and I'm transferring this juice into the smaller bottle and then so I can put it in a silicone bottle. I felt like it was so many steps involved to get me to a vape. I'm like, no, I'm just going to drip. Nuts to that. It's just
I must admit, I mean, I've not for a long time, I wasn't really a tank person. And because the UK is generally quite cold, I'm still not a massive fan of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Although every now and again I have a hankering and you must have it as well when you go, God, I really fancy I want a K-Fun vape today, or I
Oh,
want
yeah. Yep.
just a balls out, airy, cloudy bastard of a
Yep.
vape for today,
Yep. 100%.
But for all day stuff, squonking for me, I love RDAs, and so anything that means that I don't have to drip every 2 minutes, I'm in.
Yeah. Yep. I get that. Well, and that's the great thing too, is there's so many different ways to vape, and I set up like one of everything on my desk. I always have like, there's a K-Fun, there's a restricted thong, there's a big cloud chasey, there's like a stacked guy, there's a sub tank, there's a billet box, every different way. It's like sometimes I want it restricted, and sometimes I want to just exhale a weather system.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
Viv suggests Bogan and Grim collab on a run of BB accessories. So I saw that Sam's got a billet box, but I haven't watched his video whether he likes it or not yet.
Yeah. I think he likes it. In my conversations with him, he's doing what basically all vapors do when you get into the billet box, is you just jump down the rabbit hole as deep as you can.
Yeah.
You start finding all these cool accessories and doors and panels and buttons and boro tanks and inners and drip tips and colors. And it's like this fun little,
I may have gone a bit
fun
excessive.
little thing. Yeah.
With mine at the minute.
Yeah, dude. Is that a billet box?
Yeah, it's got one of the wraps from Zap Wraps all around it.
Oh, that's rad. That's super rad. Yeah. Yeah, Bogan's into the billet. I just recently jumped back into the billet box world.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
The thing is, they're not the best, are they? They're because there's so much customization involved, because you can really get your choice of bridges for them and all that sort of stuff. They're intriguing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's like a little it's like a little system. You can really customize everything from your doors to your button to the way that it vapes to the color of your tank to,
Yeah.
It's really great. It's a really great little modular like AIO. When you think about AIOs from other companies, they're not nearly as versatile or have nearly as big of like a fan base as this.
Yeah.
And what's great about billet boxes and billet box stuff is you can always like find people to buy and trade, and you have those clear doors, I'll trade you these honeycomb doors or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a built-in like base of like billet box aficionados, that you can talk to, and you got the exo set, you got this, you got that inner. It's just fun. It's a fun like little subset of the vape industry, the vape community.
I don't know if you've got anyone in America that does this, but over in this part, I think they're in Ireland, I'm not sure, we've got Elemental Cerakote. And they will take your billet box. They'll even put a USB in it as well, so you can plug it into whatever. But they'll just coat the whole thing and just make it look out of this world, so you can have your own designs on it and all sorts of stuff, which is next level.
Yeah.
We have got a super chat there. I'll have a look at that in a moment. But Charles is saying, I'm waiting on a vaping bike, a mech. I have thought about a mech a bunch of times, and I'm sure you have as well, Nick.
So many times.
The thing that stops me is and this is overthinking things massively, but I don't find myself overly comfortable with providing something that isn't for everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So I tend to go down the safer route, just because I wouldn't want anyone to, have a mishap with something with my name on it.
Yeah.
Is that a similar reason why you've never done a mech, or just?
I've never done a mech purely for liability reasons. That's it. 100% liability reasons. And the only reason, and it's because I was pretty decent friends with James from Rig Mod before he passed away.
Yeah.
But every time I talked to James, he was being sued for batteries venting in his mech. Like in the rig, battery vents, sue rig. He was fending off like 6 or 7 different lawsuits from his mech mods. And the amount of liability insurance you need to carry to like sell mech mods, it just didn't seem worth it to me. If I ever did a mech mod, it would be like through another company type of thing. Like I would go through like Russian custom mods and design something with them and have them release it and sell it so that I'm not liable.
Yeah.
You know,
It's such a shame that we've lost James. He was a proper gentle giant and,
he really
an amazing
was.
bloke.
Really was.
Terrible with technology, but a really nice bloke.
Yeah, terrible at technology. Really great guy. Really great guy.
Addie, a vaping biker, how's the missus? She's fine, thank you very much. Looking after the puppy at the minute. We miss you over on Fresh's channel, and yes, I do really want to come back to coming on Fresh's channel every now and again on a Saturday.
Oh, Fresh is great. Yeah,
it's he's such a good guy. They're all a brilliant group of people on there. Where is the big man today? Oh, Todd. I didn't invite him. Hopefully, we've got Todd, next week. Hopefully.
Oh,
And he also says, hi, Nick. We've got Vaping Bachelor. We've got another super chat for $2. Southern confused me. I thought he was asking me. Okay, there was something going on there that I didn't see. Trying to convert my father to vaping. What's the best device to get him? Want to get him a decent device for Christmas. So I wasn't going to do the kind of what's your favorite, what do you suggest, what's your recommendations, but seeing as it's a starter.
Pods out there. There's some great pods out there, man. The Caliburn G is pretty awesome for a smoker. Vupu has this pod called, I think it's called the V-Mate. I'm not 100% sure. It's the greatest pod I've ever used. I'm trying to hit up Vupu to see if I can do a review for this as soon as possible. I don't think they want it out there yet. It is so good. This pod is incredible. This pod has sidelined everything, every pod that I have. My Caliburn, the Freemax stuff, the UL stuff, everything. It's this Vupu pod is amazing. And my first thought when I had this was, I wish I had this when I was a smoker.
Yeah.
Because it's so similar to like that smoking experience.
Yeah. I must admit there's a bunch of cool pods that I've tried. Well, I'd say there's a bunch of cool pods. I've tried some pods that have been pretty reasonable of late, but from even though it's super expensive, from a smoker's point of view, the Reflex I still think is
Reflex is pretty rad.
Absolutely stunning because you can't fuck it up. You can't, when you put it in for the first time, you're not going to get dry hits. You're going to get a very sort of smoking sort of sensation from it to some degree. Yeah. The technology is ridiculous, but I mean, they're not cheap. That's the problem.
No, that's the problem.
But
they're not cheap. And it's hard to ask like a smoker to, $100 plus
it equates to like 200 cigarettes in the UK, but it's still a big bunch to throw down on something. But I'm going to be reviewing this and doing a bunch of stuff with it. And just for the fact that it is foolproof. Because how many vapors do you know that started off, they're like always getting dry hits? And a lot of the time they don't even know they're getting dry hits. That's
the biggest avoiding dry hits. That's the biggest hurdle to overcome if you're a smoker.
Yeah. Right, we've got Francois is ask Nick if he is always into the lowrider juice from Foo e-liquids. Gave him a few bottles in Paris Vape Expo.
Ooh, yes. I've been hoarding bottles of it. I have 2 bottles left of that Foo lowrider that, you have to add the nicotine and shake it up. So I know it's not going to go bad or anything. I've just been... I don't know. It's one of my favorite liquids, and I've been saving it because I know it comes from France, and I know it's hard to get. It's delicious. It's one of my favorites.
Southern Comfort, thanks again for another super chat. $10 this time. I built back when choppers were the rage. That sucks about the spine brace. Shifted vertebrae, herniated discs, and nerve damage via exit wounds. 0.40 cal, but I can't give up in riding. Sounds like you've had a motherfucker of a time.
Yeah, seriously.
I feel bad about complaining about my fibro now. I've never had metal exiting my body.
No. I hope to never have metal exiting my body. That's a goal of mine.
That's not cool. Nate says, still rocking the OG recoil and a dead goat.
Oh,
dead goat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dead goat. Dead goat.
Yeah.
See, the dead goat ruled. The dead goat was awesome. The dead goat was our attempt to save the goat by... What we were planning on doing was releasing different, more coil heads for it, like some fused Clapton coil heads. we didn't have the money to do it, and then releasing other decks for it. So single coil deck, dual coil deck, whatever, postless decks, different screw-in decks.
Yeah.
And so we released the Dead Rabbit deck, which was basically the dead. No, not the Dead Rabbit deck. The Dead Goat deck, which was essentially the Dead Rabbit deck stuffed in our goat, and we just called it the Dead Rabbit. And it vapes awesome. It's such an underrated RDA.
Yeah.
But nobody bought it, so it's okay.
It's one of those things when the goat came out, it kind of had its thing going on, because obviously it didn't have a rebuildable deck, and I'm sure you were inundated with people going, "Oh, why haven't you put a rebuildable in it?"
Yeah,
but when you did do a rebuildable, there didn't seem to be that much of a we've done a rebuildable. No. It's just like, that's over. We've done that now. But
yeah, we got it. We did the rebuildable, and we sold a bunch of them. And I still vape my Dead Goat from time to time. Like the flavor and the airflow are rad on the Dead Goat, and it's got the Dead Rabbit deck, so it's a good deck. It's easy to build on.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't review my goat because I can't vape N80, which was a thing at the time. But no, I mean, it was I very much enjoyed it. But I think that's about it. We've been nearly an hour and a half, which is longer than I expected. I thought we were going to be finished in under an hour, but I think between us, we just like talking a bunch. So.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's totally allowed.
But yeah, I think we've covered a fair old whack of stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we finish up this evening, Nick?
No. I mean, no. No. Shout out to all the UK vapors. Shout out to Dean. Thanks for having me on. Be careful of Bloomberg, because he's coming to your country. So
yeah, that was
heads up.
Anyone in the UK who hasn't seen it, go and watch Nick's Tuesday Bro News Day from last night.
Last night.
It's there's some interesting stuff potentially going on in the UK with Ash and the Bloomberg people. It's so hard to call what we're doing. Well, I mean, we still don't have a decent advocacy bunch over here in the UK. I don't think we've got some people that are on the ball, but luckily we have got some lords and stuff that are into it, and they make our case a lot. But it's tough. I mean, we still need and have done for years just a vaping focused. Not worried about heat not burn. Not worried about stuff that you chew or whatever else. We want just someone who's focused on vaping to get shit together for us, and we just don't have it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a shame. That is a bummer part, and one of the tactics, just speaking from someone who's been dealing with Bloomberg for a very long time, one of the tactics that Bloomberg really likes to do is change public opinion. So he doesn't have to prove that they're bad. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has to convince the public. He loves swaying public opinion, and it's a bizarre thing to see happen, where you suddenly go from seeing a lot of vapors to seeing not many vapors to seeing people giving you dirty looks for vaping. Like, that's the changing of public opinion that Bloomberg accomplishes. And it's shitty, and he's shitty, and it's shitty. So just be careful. He's a slippery shit, man. He is a slippery shit, and you gotta keep your eyes on Bloomberg all the time.
Yeah. And you guys keep fighting the good fight over there. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it or Matt shared it, but I sent Matt a message a little while ago, and we had a chat about it, that Bud Light were advertising on Instagram with a little video where you can win. I think it was a load of like gameplay, like for these gamers.
Right.
A gameplay kind of coaching or Twitch coaching or something like that, and a case of beer.
Whoa.
And they say that, I think he was going to look to see if that was just in the UK that was being promoted, or if that was in the States as well. But they worry about the kids so much, but yet there's a company, yes, adults play games on Twitch and all that sort of stuff, but so do a fuck ton of kids. And now you're pushing booze on that as well. What?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say vaping's good or better than cigarettes. Have a word.
Yeah, we can't say that vaping's less harmful than smoking, but definitely jam Bud Light down every youth's throat.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's a shocker.
unbelievable.
It's a shocker. If I can find the link again, I'll send it to you. But it's worrying.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we've got the Type 2. I'm going to be picking one up after Christmas and having a play with that one.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on and
Look,
and
pleasure.
having a chat with me tonight, Nick.
My pleasure. Dean, I'm glad we finally got this to happen. It was a long time coming. It was a few weeks of planning, but we did it. And I'd like to, and I'll definitely come on again, Dean. Anytime.
Great stuff.
Anytime.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure, bro.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody out there watching. It's been a joy to be live streaming with you again this year. Thank you for sticking with the channel. Make sure that you do subscribe. Hit the like button. Thank you to the 81 of you that have hit the thumbs up. And even thank you to that one person that hit the thumbs down, because that's all engagement. So it helps the channel.
Exactly. It works the same way. People don't know that. Don't tell them.
Thank you very much, everybody. And let's run the intro as an outro, shall we? Why the fuck not?